There is a moment in the duel in The Phantom Menace that is absolutely fascinating and massively telling to the character of Qui-Gon Jinn, making him one of the most interesting Jedi in all of the lore. The moment doesn't come through a wonderful flash of blade work or a mesmerizing clash of plasma blades. It is a small, quiet moment, the only quiet moment in the entire duel on Naboo. Qui-Gon Jinn and his apprentice Obi-Wan Kenobi have been dueling the Sith assassin Maul, a duel of fates, a fate for the very galaxy. And although none of the individuals involved knows the intimate details of it, they are all very much aware of what they are fighting for, the future of the Jedi and the future of the Sith. Through all of this, a brilliant clash of light and dark, something happens. As the laser shield blast doors close off enemy from enemy, Jedi from Sith, the Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn does something that Darth Maul did not expect in the slightest. Qui-Gon Jinn deactivates his lightsaber and calmly sits upon the floor, entering a deep, mindful meditation. On the surface, nothing really grandiose happens here. The Jedi Master simply chooses to sit down in meditation. But the implications of this are telling to Qui-Gon Jinn's character, and exactly why this moment infuriated Maul to his very core. We have to look first at the training of Maul and his ideology. Maul is motivated for the sole reason to prove that he is better than any Jedi. As a young boy under his tutelage under Sidious, Maul constantly dreamed and fantasized about a Jedi coming to rescue him from his captor, from his torment. And yet, this savior never came. The Jedi were a lie to the galaxy that there was someone out there protecting the innocent. And because of that, Maul turned his hatred, but more importantly, his fear, into a weapon. He needed any Jedi that he faced down to feel the fear that they had imparted upon him by the greatest lie the galaxy had ever been told, that the Jedi were there to protect. And yet, they were not there for the young Zabrak boy. They had abandoned him, and because of that, they would feel the same fear that he experienced for years. He would prove that he was better than them. He would terrify them beforehand, show them that they were truly outmatched, forcing them to embrace the fear, to feel an aspect of the Force that they were unfamiliar with, and one that would chill them to their core. It was this fear that Darth Maul preyed upon. It is this fear that he fed upon. He obviously desired to dismantle the Jedi, but he also wanted to do so in very intimate ways. In the novelization for The Phantom Menace, as he kicks Kenobi off of a platform, he slowly wishes to himself that the Jedi Padawan lives, because he views this as an unceremonial way to go out, with the Jedi deserving a more personal death. He fantasizes about skewering the Jedi through the chest with his lightsaber, looking into his eyes as the light and the Force leaves it, proving his superiority. He wants the Jedi to feel failure and fear. But that is why Qui-Gon Jinn is quite the conundrum for the young Sith Lord. In their first duel on Tatooine, Darth Maul actively senses the battle changing. Qui-Gon Jinn is the most skilled lightsaber duelist and Jedi that he has ever faced, and the margin is wide. We get into Maul's very thoughts as he talks about how the shifting sands would have unbalanced a regular Jedi, a regular fighter, and yet Qui-Gon Jinn operated upon the sands with grace, with power, and with understanding. Darth Maul sensed that he could legitimately lose to a Jedi for the first time in his life. But he could also sense that the power that was once there in the Jedi in years gone by is slowly fading. And while he is absolutely a legitimate threat, he cannot manage the same power that he once could as a younger man. And it is this brief duel on Tatooine where Maul decides exactly how he will approach the next fight. But upon their first fight, Maul was impressed with how physically powerful Qui-Gon Jinn was. But it is only in Naboo where he is utterly impressed and shocked by the mental fortitude of the Jedi Master. When Qui-Gon Jinn deactivates his lightsaber and sits in meditation, Maul is infuriated. At first, he believes that Qui-Gon does not consider him to be a legitimate threat, but this thought quickly leaves his mind. Instead, he probes out through the Force in order to sense what Qui-Gon Jinn is doing, some trick of the light side Maul thinks at first, but in reality, he simply sees a man that is attempting to center himself, to calm his mind, and to align himself with the Force, that This is so shocking to Maul because it is his sole job to disrupt that connection, and yet Qui-Gon Jinn falls back into it effortlessly, as if Maul is not there. To make things even worse, not only does he not sense fear within Qui-Gon Jinn, but also not hatred either. This shocks Maul, as he is the ancient enemy of the Jedi, and a Jedi Master sits before him, one engulfed in utter peace and acceptance. This is everything that Maul has been fighting against. In a moment, even when Maul is able to defeat him physically, he knows that mentally, he will never be able to break Qui-Gon Jinn. He even prods at the blaster door, attempting to disrupt Qui-Gon Jinn's focus, to imbalance him in the slightest way. But Qui-Gon Jinn is unfazed. He doesn't care who wins this duel. He only cares for the Force. Maul then gets a glimpse into the feelings of Qui-Gon Jinn. He searches for how he feels about the Sith apprentice before him, and again he is surprised. Qui-Gon Jinn feels absolutely nothing for Maul. He feels no fear, no hatred, no pain, not even concern. The Force has placed the Sith Lord before the Jedi Master, and Qui-Gon Jinn has accepted that reality, embraced it even, as the will of the Force. But then, Maul senses something else, something slightly farther away. He does sense fear, apprehension, anxiety, determination, strength. He looks up and smiles. What Maul is sensing is the Jedi Padawan several shields behind them. This is where he will draw his power. This is where he will execute both of the Jedi. And yet, Qui-Gon Jinn sits there, unwavered, centered completely in the Force. Looking back at this is one of the most brilliant displays of a Jedi in all of Star Wars lore. Darth Maul is a character who famously is able to imbalance people and play on this advantage. He does so with Ahsoka, and even Obi-Wan Kenobi. At several times when Obi-Wan is a Jedi Master, Maul manages to imbalance him and get him angry, harkening back specifically to this moment. And yet, Qui-Gon Jinn never worried about this whatsoever. Darth Maul never fazed him at all, and he relied solely on the Force, removing all emotion from the engagement. Maul wanted to feed off of the emotion, to give him power, to legitimize his role as a Sith Lord, and Qui-Gon gave him none of this. Qui-Gon believed that the Sith Lord was there because of the will of the Force, and if Qui-Gon were going to die in that moment, that was the Force as well. And that, my friends, is why Qui-Gon Jinn is such a brilliant character, and the seemingly small, inconsequential moment in The Phantom Menace speaks volumes to his character. But as always, my friends, thank you so much for visiting the channel and the archives today. I do hope you've enjoyed today's holocron, and as always, may the Force be with you.